I played for Maharashtra. From there, the story started of Rollball. I created a record of scoring like 30 goals in a game.
Aditya has scored 122 goals in the World Championship. He's not just a sports champion, but also the captain of Team India.
This athlete turned entrepreneur is on a mission to transform the lives of athletes and sports enthusiasts everywhere.
Guiding and directing is more important, which we are lacking on right now. You can't say if you are a good player, you will be the best coach. It is not possible. Performing and getting the performance out is two different things.
Bettering the lives of sportsmen and sportswomen in India, if you had that power and authority, what is that 3 things would you change?
My dad was like, he's not going to give you your bread and butter. We have Indian athletes only coming from there. Why is that?
Many dreams are killed because of lack of monetary support. What is the dark side of economics in sports? It's not just about playing the right game, but also making sure that you're visible at different platforms.
Correct. They have actually offered millions of dollars to the founder.
I have a name for Aditya today, the data god of sports. Welcome to Unfiltered Conversations. This episode is especially very interesting and something which is going to give us a lot of revelations from the sports industry. I have somebody who has scored 122 goals in World Championships. He has been a part of winning more than 4 titles for Team India, and I think he's led 2 of them. He's going to tell us more about that. He is an entrepreneur now and a die-hard sports person. He started Atenx Performance Studio in Pune, and that is something which is, I think, not available anywhere. So we are going to delve into what he is looking at in terms of changing the dynamics of the sports industry and also making each and every person who enters his level of sportsmanship and his level of dedication towards making India more fitter and more devoted to our sports and our country. Please welcome Aditya Ganeshwade on Unfiltered Conversations. Would you like to say something to our audience?
I'm Aditya Ganeshwade and I have been into sports for almost all my life, like 20 years time I've been into sports. I've played multiple sports. With my experience, I'm trying to grow, I'm trying to learn and trying to evolve with the time that I am in as an athlete and the things I've been doing now. It's the phase of learning and understanding and creating things. So this is what I've been trying to do and probably achieve some things that I did on the field for Indian team, and now I would like to do the similar things for the industry, which is more towards health, wellness and fitness.
I wanted to ask a little more about your childhood and why did you choose what you chose? He started something very interesting and then everything derived from his childhood and his young years of getting to know more about sports. So can we start over there? Like, what inspired you to get into this?
So as a kid I was very passionate to play cricket, and so everything started there. So I'm a diehard fan of Sachin Tendulkar. So that time television was pretty less. Like, Doordarshan was the only thing probably where we used to see the matches. I used to take the paper cutouts of Sachin. I used to keep it in my file. I used to follow him so much, and I just didn't only follow him, but I always wanted to be something similar to him. The way he carries himself on and off the field, which actually made him reach the level that he did and the longevity that he had. Those longevities are not really achievable for everyone unless and until you don't have that composure or the understanding of the sport. So it all started there. Then I started playing multiple sports in school. As the traditional family, initially everyone was like, you just, to consume your energy, you just keep playing, and career wise there's nothing to do in sports. Sports is not the right space. So I used to play skating, taekwondo, boxing, kho-kho at a competitive level in school. And over the period when I reached my 8th standard, I was representing the district team, and that time I created a record of scoring like 30 goals in a game. So that is where things turned around for me in rollball. And from there I got into the state team. Then again in state championship, in the state championship I came up with like 19 goals in a game. So that time again people said like he is something we have to look forward to getting
Yeah.
into the
Yeah.
probably into the senior teams as well. Not letting him play under 14 or under 11. We'll try to play him in an age group above what he is playing right now, because he might do well there also. And that time I was doing my taekwondo as a black belt also. I was playing competitively till state level. I got couple of silver and gold medals that time. But I stopped after that and I played for Maharashtra. From there, all the story started of Rollball. I was pretty much attracted to that sport just because when, as I said, like roller sports, there are 10 to 12 games.
Correct.
I used to perform couple of them. But when I saw this sport, it was much more entertaining and connecting me because it has it has different techniques, it has different understandings that you need, and it is not easy for any even skater to play this sport.
So for anybody who is new to this field, what is a roll ball and how is it played? Because we know speed skating, we know all of the other fields, but media has not covered this sport enough. Like we have so many, and like you rightly said when we were conversing, that India is the one who started this whole game, and they have been pioneering in that with winning 4 titles, which is not easy to do that. So I would like to kind of throw light on this sport, and you tell me that what exactly is it, how did it start, and why is it so important to kind of facilitate this sport in India?
So this sport started in the year 2000, where a couple of people from the roller sports industry came together. The brain behind the sport is Mr.Aditya, who actually invented this sport. He was trying to get into combining couple of sports and creating something new, which will be more entertaining, more connecting, and which will be a Indian sport of the 20th century, is what he had in his head always. So that is where it all started. But if you see, now the sport is being played in more than 55 countries. As I said, those factors are very important. Sports is more about entertainment. You always are on the toes, because anytime anything can happen and things turn around in this particular sports, because it is a constantly rolling sport. Of like 50 minutes you have to keep going up and down. Like as I said, like you take 4 seconds to reach one goal to another goal. So it's super
crazy.
fast. You have to make decisions very fast as an athlete on the ground. And particularly rollball, it is a combination sports of handball, skating, and a basketball. So if you see, there are 3 different things that happen. So we have to dribble the ball. We have to dribble the ball. We have to keep passing. We can't carry the ball. There are certain lines that we can't cross even after scoring the goal. We can't get into body contact with anyone. So there is a semi-contact that is allowed, but we can't push, we can't tackle from behind.
That can be very risky.
Yeah, so that can be risky. And the ball is also designed in such a way that the weight is lesser than any other basketball. And the size is bigger. The reason behind it is you can't control the ball in your hand.
So it has to be like that. Like
if you can control the ball in the hand, and if I give you a fake, if you go, it will take you a longer time to recover. So you can't come back, as you already are on a motion. So it takes 2 to 3 seconds for you to stop and come back to the position. So the ball is designed in such a way that no one can control it in a single hand. So that makes it more difficult for you to score goals also.
You refer to it as an entertainment, but like what I take from this is that sports or any kind of activity, physical activity which you start inheriting from your childhood is something which is going to build a very strong mindset. It's going to help you in your personal life, it's going to help you in your professional life. And like you said that at your studio also, there are professional athletes who come, sports person who come, and there are normal people who walk in. But the sports person who is walking in is more consistent in nature. I think it comes from the childhood inheritance of getting that mindset, getting that that practice of you have to take care of mind, body and soul. So I would like to know more about this mindset preparation and why it's so important, because we are talking about your childhood, we're talking about this sport, for any parent to kind of inculcate in their children.
As you said, it is very true that you have to start at a very early age to have that understanding about fitness. And when you see as a human structure, the growth phase is only till the age of 16 or 18. So giving it the right way of growing is very important in that particular phase of time. Whatever you do even after 18 or 19, it is not a sustainable thing. You have to be consistent. You can be consistent. People are picking up after that age also. They are trying to be consistent. They are being fit. But if you stop that person from doing it for few months, the body will completely change.
Yeah.
If a kid is training or working out or playing certain sport from his early age, like if you say around 5 or 6 years old, that body or the muscles that are created or the tuning that is created with your mentality and your body, the connection builds really very strong, and those muscles have a muscle memory, like the growth happens there. So those muscles have a longer muscle memories, or they sustain for a longer period of time, even if you don't do certain activities for a certain period of time. So it is very important for any kid or anyone to start getting into multiple sports. It is not necessary to have a complete focus at a very early age that I have to play this sport, or you can't decide your kid to play a particular sport just because you like it. You have to understand. For that, you need to make him play multiple sports, or at least start with some basic fitness, which has to be at least 1 hour in a day. Once he starts getting that physical hardship, once the body starts getting there, it will make him mentally strong as well.
Correct. Yeah. So with you also, it started the same way. You had, your parents gave you various options to go, and then you chose what you chose now, and that led you to the entire journey. So this is very important for any person to look at, that it starts with you, it starts with your upbringing, and it starts with how you kind of utilize your time. And right now, if you've seen, there are a lot of suicide cases. There are a lot of, you've seen this recent case where work stress has literally taken life of a young girl who had so many dreams. Had there been sports, had there been working out, had there been meditation, had there been a lot of other options, this wouldn't have happened. And I think this work-life balance is so important in anybody's life, because I can completely understand, and I think you can talk more about it, that why this hustle culture should not be promoted, and why this equal balance of, like, taking care of your mind and body along with work is so important, because you are an entrepreneur and you've started something which is like on a mission to improve lives of not just athletes, not just sports people, but normal people. So can you talk more about that?
The reason behind it was to get that understanding to the general population. I started the concept of having this service sector or this setup was to bridge the gap between the athlete training and the general population, because at least our generation has a certain knowledge about what a body has to go through in a certain way of training and why is it necessary. Like the basic awareness is there, but the depth of thought or the importance is not there. Hustling is something they do just because they want to achieve something, for sure. What people miss out on is to have a longevity. Your body is the only thing that is going to help you do things till your longest period of time. If you're not working out, your body will start getting problems in the 40s, for sure.
100%.
And people who have been into physical activities or who have been connected with the certain space of fitness, they can do things really well with the same energy or the same amount of time in a day till the 70s at least. So people have to have this understanding at a very early age. They can't start something after they get into a certain medical issues, because again their body is in a position where they can't actually make it there. They might just try to sustain or stabilize themselves, but it won't be a good thing. So have it before. When your body can actually do, the muscles should be in a good condition.
Also, like, now I want to know more, like, I'm very much interested. I saw the pictures of your studio. It's called as Atenx and it is in Kothur. It's a beautiful site, and it's something which is very much connected to the nature. You can tell the history about that place and why this is so closer to your heart also. You're talking about it. Why is it different than other gyms?
So basically, Atenx also is the name that I came up with because A is my name, Aditya. 10 was the jersey number that I played for India. X was the multiplication into sports, not just as an athlete, but giving it back to the sport in different ways. So that is where I came up with the name, to be connected with the name as well as delivering the right things to the industry. When I started thinking of creating a space, as an athlete, the services that I've gone through or the understanding that I've came across of training, fitness, wellness, whatever it is, you need to have a good environment. And where the current situations are heading, we need to make things more sustainable and with the natural materials as much as possible. Because having the natural materials people connect well with those things, like the
True.
trees,
Yeah.
rocks, or whatever it is. They're completely natural.
Yeah,
They won't evolve. They won't change.
Yeah, and they're calming to your eyesight.
The right warmth in the space is more important. Having the cross ventilation, having trees around where you can create more oxygen in the
Correct,
space.
correct.
And when people work out, it is more about having the right oxygen levels inside the space is also important.
Correct.
So it makes them go more further than what they can whenever they are even in a fatigue or in a situation.
Correct.
But if they come and enter the space, they can do it. So I have got a feedback on these things. There are people who came in and they told me like whenever I was not feeling like doing a workout when I came in, I was able to do more than what I thought also.
Correct.
The impact that space gets on you is also very important, which people don't understand. People make it more commercial because when you enter, there is a certain flow that you have to have when you do a certain kind of workout.
Correct.
So you need to have a good space management also. So it's more about the space planning. Like we do a development plan, it's a similar way you have to do a very detailed space planning for it.
I feel that a lot of sports people, they say that there is a lot of lack in India when it comes to training, when it comes to fitness, or when it comes to right guidance, because we are just going through an aesthetic or that sort of fitness training, and that's what you wanted to change. Was there any incident that made you do this?
When I was playing my 5th World Championship, I was around 25 or 24 something. All the sports in India, you don't commercially actually get that much outputs, which will help you sustain and keep playing the sport for like your the age of 35 or 40. And my dad was like, you have to practically understand that this is not going to give you your bread and butter. Somewhere you have to understand and you have to have a transition. For 2 years, I was thinking over things, how to stay connected with the sport and what are the gaps. Understanding the market, like I did a research what market situation is there right now in sports for in India, what it might have in the next 10 years, like 2030, what would be the picture in 2030, and how many people are actually working there, how many people are trying to understand this market, how many people are trying to revolutionize this market or make that awareness or knowledge into the industry. I decided to get into it by starting this particular brand. From there, the first thing now came up was the first studio, and now we are trying to create it into clubs. So there is another club that might come up now in the month of January in Viman Nagar.
Okay.
Now we are structuring more towards creating spaces where we can train the athletes as well as the general population and even sports activities.
You have a specialized swimming pool, you have spinning, you have athlete customized training, then you have lots of strength training, CrossFit is there, yoga is there. So there's n number of options available, and you said you have 20 plus trainers available. So why is such customization is so important?
What I understood, so like considering the business side, so one is the emotional side that I wanted to be connected with the sport, but just the emotion, the only emotions are not like sufficient for you to survive. Having the understanding of the market and what people go for, what price points people want, and what services people usually take up when it comes to fitness right now at the current situation. Having that was necessary, and running multiple services under one roof was one of the main reasons behind it was once people get into a space, maybe if you are coming in for a strength training, when you see CrossFit happening in front of you, you see and understand what is CrossFit. The gaps between understanding things or the activities is that people don't try and go and attempt to.
Correct.
Even athletes are, if the athlete is training here, they are doing some different kind of plyometrics or something which is more towards Olympic lifting. They'll see, they'll check, and they'll tell like, there were people who came into general training because I want to try it out. So when you see, so the visual connection that you need to the different things is what I thought of having together, then only it will complement each other.
Absolutely.
Only strength training will be like a socialization space and working.
Then it will be like any other gym.
Yeah, it would be like any other gym after that.
And you do have kickboxing also.
Yeah. So we have boxing batches also. We had aerial yoga also.
Aerial yoga is something which was a little new.
There is a lot behind it. You can't just directly do aerial yoga. People feel it is fascinating and it is fun to do. But your body needs to be pretty much in a good strength and structure to attempt it.
Yoga needs a lot of strength. I mean, like, it's not easy.
Once I decided to do yoga just because I wanted to relax, and I ended up sweating like hell.
So there's another question, like if you were given the responsibility of taking care of the fitness and everything related to nutrition or like bettering the lives of sportsmen, and sportswomen in India, if you had that power and authority, what is that 3 things would you change in the current scenario?
Current scenario, I would say the most important things are getting things more data driven, getting in the right testing procedures, getting in the right sports science or the knowledge to the trainers, having the right educational system for the people who are into training and creating the athletes, because the gap right now is most of the athletes have turned into coaches, but there had been no transition of getting that knowledge. They have done certain certifications. There needs to be a very specific structure to get into a certain training, and there has to be a process where they have to keep doing the certification again and again after a couple of years. You can't have the same training system that you had 15 years back. To have user number in that space who play for India, you need to have such systems at the grassroots first. And the coaches, they need to go through a certain level understanding and certifications or certain process of how to train. So even if I'm an athlete, I have not got into coaching much. I just have taken certain camps where I technically tell people what I have learned and what you can do. You can't say if you are a good player, you will be the best coach. It is not possible.
It's not possible.
And most of the people have that mentality that I'll be the best coach. Just because you play good, it doesn't make you a good coach, because performing and getting the performance out is two different things.
There's a lot of science which I've kind of felt when you're with a sportsman and then you're trying to train them and then you have to inculcate some sort of performance while they're playing for your country. What are the educational facilities available to give that training? When you say certification, what are those certifications? What are those things which, like a coach or a specialized training center like yours require in terms of getting the best out of grassroots or getting the best out of even anybody who's aspiring to be participating in the state level or national level
sports. I decided to have this combination of having athlete training and general training together. Was people at the grassroots or the athletes at the grassroots don't have the accessibility to this kind of knowledge or the exposures. So I had that connects of people who have worked outside India and came back to India now and have been working in the space of strength and conditioning, sports science, analysis, testing with a lot of federations at the top line. And even if they have worked with the countries outside who are at least like 10-15 years ahead of what we are right now in terms of training and educating. So even most of the Olympians or the people who are playing at the top line are training outside. They are training in Europe, they are training in the US. They don't train here. Just because we don't have the right people to coach them.
Can it start from educational institutions?
Yes. So the reason why I also integrated, so I registered my company with Skill India recently because we created a book of strength training, like the sports science, testing, data. So how do you create a data? Like even if there is a general person coming in to train for a personal training, what we have done is we have created certain testing process where we test you on your strength, power, agility, mobility, endurance, and few more factors considering your current health situations also, your genetics also, and we create a data from the test. And from that testing, there are certain levels of people the data goes through. And the person who is like a PhD holder or a person who is having that depth of science in him analyzes that data and tells the people on the ground how to conduct the current training for the next 3 months. And after that, we again do a test where we analyze them where they have reached and if they have not reached, why they have not reached. In personal training right now in the market, the people are what they are doing is once they get comfortable with a certain trainer, they keep doing the training with him. But there is no result, no reports, nothing. There's nothing changed with them in their physical abilities, or they are just okay to come, socialize, train under the coach because they have a comfort zone there now. But that shouldn't be the thing. You should be more with the papers telling you that this is what you are, this is where you have to reach, this is where you have got right now. If you stay focused and if you follow the certain things in your training, this is where you will reach. So guiding and directing is more important, which we are lacking on right now.
And that's what Atenx is.
Yeah, so we are trying to do that more because it should be like that and people need to be aware. So educating them through these things will make them more aware.
That's true.
And having data and numbers is what people go for now. We are trying for Olympics to host in India in 2036. We still don't know how many players will play. So you need to know India's goal, how many players should be there participating and what number of medals we'll take out. There won't be any calculation for that because I have researched a lot about it. Do any sports federation have a data of athlete performing in the last 5 years? They don't have it because they are doing more things manually. Because government also has to take care of so many things. But there, I feel they should be structuring it in some way where they direct federations to create certain data compulsory and report them with certain things. It should be like a company structure, corporate company structure, which is lacking right now. And the systems, like we do have some accounting systems like GST. There should be a certain system where central government should make it compulsory for the federations to operate on, to give them different datas of different age groups, and then they can figure out if there is a kid that we start testing right now at the age of 5. So there is a process called physical assessment test or predictive analysis.
Correct.
So predictive analysis is where you analyze. So China, US, they do this on the kids from the age of 5 and they actually have the data of every kid from that age in the schools. What they do is they'll test my different factors and they'll also see what height I am right now, what my genetics are, like what my parents, like have they been physically active, they have been or they have not been physically active, how my mental capacities are when I play a certain sport. They'll analyze that and they will predict in the next 5 years this particular kid will reach this level and actually that comes down to be right by 95%. That is what India needs to work more on now. And that has to be compulsorized from the government itself. And also if you see geographically, India, there are different sports dominated in different states. How to have these systems is more important now in Indian sports, which is ignored, I feel.
That's true.
As it was not considered as a commercial thing, it was just more about fun and entertainment.
This was, I think, one of the most important topics what we've discussed, and then I was like, I don't want to cut you in between because this is very important. What I've learned from you right now, I was just thinking in my mind while you were talking that education is one.
Right.
Why our Indian athletes or sportsmen or sportswomen have to go abroad to get that education, or even the coaches going there and just learning? Why can't that be introduced? The second is what you spoke about, data. Data is so important that I never thought of it in that way. It's not just about our country growing economically, but if you've seen the participation in Olympics, there are so many athletes, sports people rising right now, and they need that support.
Right.
Every pillar in our country is equally important. And when you spoke about the multi-level involvement that is required, I'd like to know more about that. Everybody talks about when anybody's reached nation, like an example of Smriti is there, but nobody knows that where they started.
There might be 10 more Smritis like that at the same time also.
Exactly.
But just sometimes what happens in the sport also, you connect to someone after watching really. So like I connected to Sachin Tendulkar. He was consistent, he was good. Most of the people started following that sport in those times just because of that person. So I saw him once, if he is playing good once, I am behind him. And he will be picked up. And it is the mentality in the federations also. Like
it happened with you also.
Yeah, it happened with me also.
Because your coach saw that, okay, this person is different.
Proving it once and keep doing the same thing over and over again, it takes a lot of training. It takes a lot of understanding. So every individual doesn't come with the understanding or the background of doing or working on it and being consistent. So as I said, like I wanted to be an person or an athlete who wanted to dominate for a longer period of time. Even if I have been a world champion, it was not something that that satisfied me. So that is the thought I individually had. Probably I got knowledge about it from my family. They were into business and other things where they gave me more about how to think, how to work. And how to be sustainable. The problem with the India is geographically right now we don't have the right facilities. When we have a government development plan every 5 years, we need to have a good development plan for sports facilities. So if you are making a development plan, on what grounds you are putting a ground reservation in a certain area? What is the thought behind it? I don't think so there is any thought. Just because having a certain ratio of ground spaces is what they are planning on things right now. Ideally, if you see, Balewadi is the right facility where everything is structured really well, but still there are multiple more sports that can be allied to it. Similarly, every state has a certain facility. In Hyderabad, or if you see in Bangalore areas, the badminton is more bigger or cricket is more bigger because they have a lot of facilities there connected to those sports, and they created a lot of athletes because they had facilities.
That's also a reality.
Because
Yeah.
like me, or if there is any other player, if they like, they'll start going for that sport because that is visible. Having that visibility
Is important.
is more important.
Yeah.
Similarly, in other states, like even if you see on the north side,
Yeah.
the combat sports like wrestling and all are more bigger thing in
Correct.
those areas, and we have Indian athletes only coming from there. Why is that? Just because you don't have those coaches everywhere. What government should do is they need to identify like if that person has created 100 athletes. So if you identify some individual as best, you try to replicate that person in multiple locations, or at least give that person a job of creating more 100 like him. That will help the number to multiply faster.
Yeah.
It has to be looked after as a
Yeah.
complete business structure,
Correct.
like a corporate structure, right from how to educate, right from how to training, how to create the facilities, how to take care of things so that we don't end up in problems in terms of lacking of athletes, or the even the mental side or the psychological
Everything.
side. There are too many things which
Together.
has to be planned properly and told that these are the numbers where we have to achieve in everything
Absolutely.
in a certain way,
Yeah.
which is more important now.
So this kind of solves the problem of not waiting for that one opportunity or one chance of finding like a diamond in the
Right,
stones.
right.
Rather creating multiple diamonds and creating that mine where a lot of talent is churned out
Correct.
of our country. So that's a very important point. And getting into the roll ball thing that you spoke about, there are a lot of challenges which are happening over there also, or it's a more of a suppressed sport, or media is not covering it much.
Right.
It is invented in India and it should be promoted in that way. And there are a lot of countries eyeing to take it back to their thing. So tell me more about that what are the problems, and you speak about a lot of invisible pressures which happen.
Europeans usually control all the sports, and they want to control all the sports because probably they are only left with that to commercially survive. And they have those kind of fundings also. They have those kind of systems also where they know where they are, right from athletes to people who are into business, people who are into managing, people who are into the art side of it. They have a good structure overall, so they can pressurize anyone around who starts something good. In India, when this game started, it started picking up very fast. Like having to reach 50 to 55 countries in the time frame of 15 to 20 years is, I feel, it's not easy at all.
Not easy.
Nothing can go that fast, or probably it will take a lot of effort for anything to go there in that particular frame of time. And not just reaching there, those countries have started dominating in the sport, which is another big achievement for India. Like if people outside are accepting the sport and trying to work on the sport more than what we are even thinking, then it is something to worry about again. So there have been situations where we started certain sports, like badminton is probably also started by India, in Pune rather, but it is now dominated by China and other countries. We are also good at it. We are started getting good at it now. But if you see the last 25-30 years, we were probably not making that many numbers. But they came to a certain training level. They have got coaches from outside. They have been training in Europe also. They are coming here also. So we are hiring those people at those levels. So it is happening now.
Correct.
But in Rollball, what support has to be there is government has to fund it, because it has a capacity of dominating the world in a certain sports area. We know if this sport gets into the Olympics, it is a 100% medal for us. We will surely get it because we are technically ahead.
Like it still has to be.
Yeah, it has to get into Olympics because there are certain ways a sport gets into Olympics. There is an expo called Sports Accord.
Okay.
So this Sports Accord happens every year. And if there is any new sport that has been invented, or any new concept in sports or technology in sports, you have to participate there, where everyone, like every sports federation, every big person in the sport comes there, visits, sees, like it's just like expo that happens for any other engineering field or a corporate field. And from there, if you get the right output or the right consideration, there will be a time when the sport will come into Olympics. Like there are certain years or certain times you have to participate and prove yourself to be better than any other thing there, and then
So
you get
let's
that
say
consideration.
Let's say when Olympics will be hosted in India, there could be a higher chance if we start now.
Yeah. So, and also the host country has the opportunity of getting their own sport in, depending on their facilities, what they have.
Okay.
So, in US also now they will get in roller hockey because the floor hockey is also one big thing in US.
Correct.
US dominates that sport, so US will be getting that sport inside for their own advantage because they know that they are going to get a medal there because they dominate in the world championships every year. Every country has that opportunity. So focusedly, if there is a certain way we support this sport in getting into the top line or getting into the consideration by fighting the problems that the sport is facing or the pressures the sport is facing from the European bodies because they see a lot of business in this, they see a lot of opportunity in this which people here don't see and they have that understanding about sport. They know that what a sport can do if it is picking up that fast.
Correct.
They have actually offered millions of dollars to the founder saying you can give this sport to us, you stay with us, but we will be controlling the sport and internationally. Nationally you keep it with you. Internationally also if you want you have certain rights.
Yeah.
But you have to give it to us
Let go
or they won't let you grow there.
Oh.
So that is a different
It's like
pressure.
a mafia
Yeah,
sort
it's
of situation.
it's sort of mafia that happens.
Sports mafia.
Sports mafia.
This is something because people I think want to
Yes.
get the best gems
Correct.
towards themselves.
And then as we see that in the importance that we have in sports right now for India and what they have and where they have placed themselves in the market of sport. So if you know all the sports federations, like the International Sports Federation of Football, cricket, not cricket, but all the other sports are based in Switzerland. All the main bodies, governing bodies of every sport is based in Switzerland. Only a couple of sports like Rollball are having their own independent structure away from that.
So I didn't know about that.
Yeah, so it's
They're the
all
only-
runs in the Europe. So every
Apart
international
from this
body,
one.
apart from Rollball.
want this
Yeah,
also.
so they want this because they know the speed of growth that is happening. The problem here also is we don't have the right business-minded people here in the sports structure. The people who are running the sports are more athletes.
You need more entrepreneurs.
Yeah, entrepreneurs to get into it, or placing the right people with the right knowledge in every system of the sport. So there should be a certain way. If you are hiring someone to market it, you need to have that MBA or
In-depth.
something.
Yeah,
You need to understand the sports. At least you, even if you don't know the sport, you know how to sell it after you understand it after a certain period of time. So you need to have those certifications also integrated towards the sports thing when you hire someone in the federations, which is there is no structure in hiring people in federations right now.
Yeah. I think, when you're growing any institution or if you're growing any of these bodies, there are three things which are very important. Let's say a passion.
Yeah.
Or that drive or that purpose which you can get from an athlete or a sports person. You also need another pillar which is an entrepreneur or a business mindset person who can drive the growth of that
Correct.
that institution. And the third one is the localized that media industry or anybody who's increasing the visibility of
Right.
that game all across. So this is also like a multi-level operation which is required. It doesn't drive just on purpose and passion. I think
it doesn't.
these three things are very important.
Yes, that actually is an opportunity for every field
Yeah.
to integrate themselves with sports. If you have the knowledge of creating something in a certain field,
You
if
should
you
be able to sell it.
just
You've
if you
seen
just
FIFA.
is something that is doing millions for any level
Yeah.
in the business.
You've seen David Beckham now, like just
He's buying clubs.
he's buying clubs. I mean, like you need that mindset, and
Yeah.
I think he must be having that body
Correct.
of people who are helping him
Right.
with consultation that
Correct.
this is what you need, and he's using his name of how many years he is kind of
Played or performed or got that
performed,
visibility.
outperformed in
Yes,
his game.
outperformed.
The visibility is got, and I
Yes.
think later on the other people in this field are also going to grow. So I think India can really, because we are a country of young mindsets,
Right.
and if this starts happening from now, it's going to really
They're
grow.
going to change everything.
Exactly.
But having that drive, I said, like you need to have that drive, you need to have that analysis or understanding and datas to work with and the people, right people to create all of this.
Correct.
We don't have people to work here. We don't have the people with right knowledge to operate things. Because in testing also, if I said like there are certain things called, there are certain equipments rather, where you can test a certain athlete's particular motion or action and correct him to do it by analyzing on that particular machines. Like there are machines called force plate, velocity bar, time gates. All these equipments are not actually accessible for everyone, but those are where athletes actually play at the international level.
expensive?
They are very expensive. Like a single equipment probably might cost around 50 lakhs.
Oh, that's a lot.
So when you use those, you analyze if I'm having a jump test, so if I jump, if I see my body, so there is a center of gravity that a body has. So you need to have the right center of gravity and the right mechanism to create a right jump. So if for my sport there is a certain kind of jump that I need to perform, which is with a twist. To analyze my jump with a twist and where I am having my center of gravity and where I am falling down again, and what is not impacting my joints, and the vibrations are passing right through my body to the top of my head, that is where my body will not get into problems. So it's more of making the body understanding with the mechanical things. Like it's more about engineering here.
Because once you start understanding, okay, with this move I'm facing this issue, then you start improving on that much faster than, you know, kind of getting that injury.
Right. So people who can operate these machines are not there in India. Very few. There
are machines available?
There are machines available.
Okay.
There are a couple of spaces, like even Symbiosis has it with them in their sports science center right now. Balewadi has it, but Balewadi doesn't know how to operate it. It has been there for the last 10 years, but no one has used it. And there are a few more spaces like this where they have it, but they don't know actually how to operate it. They don't have those right people. The reason why athletes are going out, because they have to do these tests every month or in a certain time frame, considering their tournaments or their coming timelines of performing some certain activity. And when you don't have those people delivering you the right outputs or reading the data that comes out of the machines and processing it, giving a direction, there are different people who are involved in all this.
True.
When you have that knowledge, you need to commercially also pay them that much, which again is a big problem or a challenge here.
Yeah. What is your longer vision with Atenx and yourself? Because you've really identified the problem statements, and I think when you're pointing these issues out, I'm sure you are also thinking about creating those resources and those human resources rather, to kind of make sure that Atenx and its people are reaching out to these facilities and then they are placed in. Is that what you are trying to?
That is what I am trying to do, because if that is the gap, then that is the opportunity.
That's a huge opportunity, because if you can fill the gap, if you can send somebody from Atenx to Balewadi, and then that machine starts operating, imagine the amount of athletes who are going to come there.
Correct.
Imagine if you just send across anybody and they start kind of their functional training, or they start their whole journey over there. It's going to create a lot of opportunities, not just for them but for you also.
Correct. So that is where I'm working on. Like I need to work on different levels. I just can't have a single direction where Atenx can head. So every direction, like I said, like from the kids,
exactly,
like at the age of 5, there is a different team that will work on it. There will be a different team that will work on the testing part. That will be a different team who structures the business for a setups where we have the combination of athlete training and general training and the exposures to different services together, making your business sustainable as well, giving you a more higher outputs than any other facility can.
Yeah, because it's data oriented.
Yeah, and even along with it, it will give you a value, because you are training athletes, you are creating sports icons, which will be a big thing to achieve if that player plays, because or if that player goes to a certain level after a age.
Absolutely. All the visibility and all the, who created that. So it will go towards you and your organization, I feel.
So exposing knowledge in every stages is what my focus is, because I feel if you want to do a business in the current time, you need to knowledge more about things. What people can connect to is if you are giving the right knowledge. If you are just making them do certain things, you come here, you do this. It doesn't work like that anymore. If you want to do something differently, knowledge is something that you have to add with whatever you're doing.
That's true. Sir, we've delved into education, Atenx, the way they are kind of changing the dynamics of sports. They're going to increase in multiple levels. I think multiple cities also. I don't think so. That's your shorter vision where you're just going to open centers in Pune, but I think across India, and 100%. It's going to be step by step, and starting with you personally getting involved in the sports industry, which is there in India. Everything depends on this smaller thing which people usually ignore, which is the economics, the finances behind any sport, and that's very important. You were talking about, I personally felt that these big brands give you money or financial support forget about government, but let's say the corporate culture or the corporate giants rather, I felt like they give certain amount of sponsorships for an athlete to train. But that I think is just limited to cricket because that's a more media savvy and media visible sport.
Yeah.
So what is this gap which you've noticed, and what is the dark side of economics in sports right now in India?
So not even all the cricketers, I'll tell you, like even not a state level player is commercially making good unless and until he's playing in the state team where only like how many 16 players are paid for the time frame of 3 months. Like if you are getting a salary, so there is a salary structure at least there.
Yeah.
But no other federation has a salary structure to the players. Probably if when a central government is setting up a budget of giving a certain amount to a certain state for a certain number of sports, the hierarchy or the system that comes into place has to be very rightly calculated so that we have a certain amount that goes to the players, because what India is lacking or what India is not seeing, the sport will only grow if there are athletes growing.
Correct.
You can't monetize on one good athlete for more than 10-15 years. If you want to make a commercial good structure or a business out of it, you need to create players. And for players or the people to take up a sport, you need to have a monetary structure to it. Even parents will think first, if my kid is not going to achieve anything out of it, just unless and until we are putting him for a physical fitness or a physical development, how do we consider the second angle for it? How does that get it when you have a good structure in terms of giving salaries to certain levels, and you also give them goals? Federations are lacking in getting in the sponsors. Federations lack into structuring the marketing plans or the ideas, because of which the corporates also don't get into it much because they don't know the numbers.
Yeah.
So if I tell you today for your company to come and sponsor a event of Rollball, there are certain questions that you will come up with.
Of course.
How much people are there? How much visibility is going to be there? If I have the top Indian athletes with a visibility of more than like 2 million or 3 million, only from those 5 athletes I'll give you some certain content. So these are the strategical plans that we do when we are coming from a business background.
Correct. Yeah.
But federation doesn't have all of this. Federation doesn't have any understanding about it. People who work or operate it don't consider those things to be important. They just want to consume the amount that are coming in to create the events and get done with it and just report about it. They are not calculating other things. They are not forecasting things. And there are no systems that are making them do all of it.
That's true. And I think lawn tennis or a lot of other sports are very expensive. You said that 1 crore is like a expense for a person to even survive for a year, and that can be like an entire business expense for any of the families, which is not sustainable. I think many dreams are killed because of the lack of monetary support which anybody is not giving to them. You might have immense talent, but what will you do of it if you don't have that support?
Mentally you have to somewhere stop yourself. If you don't see the vision of having that support monetarily after giving so much of your body, mind and everything, just getting a medal is fine. It is an emotional thing for sure. But it is not going to make you survive. I feel like we need to have a very good systems, and which we lack the most. If we want to create something in sports, we need to make it a very business oriented thing and very strictly monitored centrally to every level.
I think when we talk about like a bird's eye view of equality in our country, there should be something which is like a one nation, one policy for sports, right? Like where every sport is equal, every athlete, every sports person is equal, everybody must be looked upon in an equal opportunity or equal platform based on their performance, based on their talent, based on what they bring to the table, rather than any of the other aspects, that which region they belong to, which state they belong to, which culture they belong to. If we look at them as humans and then kind of bring them up, I think our country will go way beyond any of the others have ever seen in this.
So if you analyze properly at every level, you'll have that clarity also, you'll have that confidence also. And it is not just about you. If you showcase those sports and those athletes everywhere from a very younger age, people will come to you and invest
100%. 100%.
And they will also monetize on it. Federation will also earn, sport will also grow. Everyone will be happy. But right now we don't have those things in place. Getting them in place is what the government can only do, I feel. Because federations are a non-profit organizations and they don't have those right people. And the biggest problem is people who have played the sport know these things. Rather than one, so if I have started a business in sport, I started because I knew the market.
You understood, you've been through that problem.
Correct. And when I started, when I asked certain research companies, data research companies or market research companies, I went to them. I said, like, the first business that I started was roller sports trading, the trading of roller sports equipment, because that was my first connection or the first place where I had network to sell things in India. And when I reached out to certain companies, I told them, like, can you identify how many skaters are there in India? I have played, so I know how many people play at the top level. Like at the national level.
Correct.
Like if there are 24 states playing, there are the team is of 12 players, women's and men's, then total number of teams goes to up to 48, 50. So I came up with the calculations from there. But today I don't know. If I identify Nagpur as a district and if I see how many school like players are there, I can't tell. No one can tell me rather how many players are there in Nagpur right now.
Yeah.
Or any other state, any other district.
Yeah.
You just can't analyze. So it is a risk for any business also to do because you don't know only what the situation is. Just because I knew certain spaces that at least I have a business of this number and there are this many players playing, so I can start a business.
Absolutely.
And whoever is doing business or whoever is on the body right now, so first of all, there are very few people into business and having the vision of expanding it towards a certain level and having a sports background are very few. People who are just doing business or just funding certain spaces, they don't have the clarities of these things yet. So there should be a way, and this can't be done overnight. This is a process of like 10-15 years of time that it will take to
and I'm
sink
sure
in.
it will happen like with you opening up, you talking about it, you coming here and just being very upfront and unfiltered about a lot of topics which are going to be very important for each and every person to understand, even if you are from sports or not.
Correct.
Like you should be aware of what's happening in and around our country.
And if you are connected to marketing something or any other field, if you keep like at least reading about certain things that are happening in sports connected to your spaces, that will also add knowledge to you or might open up an opportunity for you to enter a different field altogether where already the competition is very less.
Exactly. You've been also actively kind of promoting, let's say I've seen you promote marathon also, like you sponsored that, then you were in Egypt recently. So why is it important to be up there with your venture for people to understand about it? You spoke about that visibility had been the biggest issue. So let's talk about, we spoke about economics, we spoke about the problem areas of institutions and government. Let's speak about marketing yourself and why your personal brand and why your marketing kind of techniques are so important in sports. It's not just about, just playing the right game, but also making sure that you're visible at different platforms.
Correct. When I started a facility or the service center, I knew that if I want to make people sustain in terms of business, or I want to have a maximum retainership, I just can't give them a service which is just oriented to my space. I need to create more events where people can bond in together. They can share knowledge, they can have a good time together, at least in those areas. So marathon, where I started 2 years back with this thing. So we started marathon 3 years rather before. So we did a 26th January, on 26th January, we did a run from Pune to Mahabaleshwar. A relay run. So it was 5 friends who we started with. On that day, we decided like we'll have an event on 15th August to 26th August where we do awareness about fitness. And we being athletes, we have to do this event.
Correct.
And we have to try and expose general population right from every age group, and marathon being something where everyone can participate, like from the kids to the senior citizens.
Correct.
So having that mass, having to get that space to put in things is where I understood that this is a certain way I can reach out to mass.
Correct.
Or which is connected to my facility or my thing that I'm doing. And from there we started picking up. So first year we had like 550 participants. This year we had 1900 participants. So when you deliver, when I know the depth of what running is, I know I can execute it if I know the event side also, and if I know how to perform that particular thing, I know I can manage it much better. than any other event company, because we take care of all the details, and which makes probably people more connect to it.
Imagine the amount of data you must have gathered
Correct.
so far.
Yeah, so I'm completely doing that. I'm
Yeah.
trying to get all the data of all the trainings and everything. So even if it's an athlete who trained 6 months ago, on a particular day, I
have
know
that.
what he has done there.
But that's crazy. I mean, that's so important right now.
Very important. And this is not a valuable thing right now, but I know in the coming 10 years, it is going to be something which will be valued more than what it is right now, for at least 100x for sure. People will run behind
Yeah.
these things, finding where the data is, how do you have it, and they will be looking to buy it.
True.
They
Absolutely.
will be willing to see, like even the government will be at a point where they will be looking to buy the data.
So we've got a revelation here.
So that is how we have to think also. I feel the way I played in a sport, or the thought of having dominating the sport for 10 years, so similarly, when I entered the business, I've decided like I don't want to do a commercial thing, but I want to have a longer sustainability, or the brand which will last in India, which will create a name in the fitness and wellness industry in India, and will remain the same at the top line for the coming years, even if I'm not there. And I'm trying to get the systems in place also. It should run without me. It shouldn't be human dependent or
I think
family
that's the
dependent
beauty
over the
of an
period.
entrepreneur, where it's not just about you running everywhere, but you
Correct.
creating the right systems that will facilitate change
Right.
in each and every business. If you've
Correct.
seen the top 10% of the business men across the world, they've created systems.
Correct.
And then they're just now, if you've seen Bill
It
Gates.
completely cuts down your time of operations, and you just get more time on creating things. The operational work usually consumes a lot of time.
I think you gave answer to this myth about hustle culture also. People think that you have to be involved in the tiniest of things, but it's not about that. It's about picking talent who's going to make sure that the work happens.
Right.
And then you also kind of going to the next big thing.
Right.
That's, hustle culture is not going to get you anywhere.
100%.
This mindset is going to get you somewhere.
When you start something, you have a certain vision. So when I sit on a brand or I sit on a sport, if I decide like marketing, like I know the way I want to market the brand.
Correct.
And if I make someone sit, I need to educate him in the right way, create those people. It takes time to create those people. Probably you come across with the wrong people also for a very long period of time. Then you find someone.
You regret it.
Human resource management is probably one of the difficult parts, but that is the most important area. You need to know how to manage people. And that is what I learned from the sport. When I became the captain of the Indian team in 2017, that was a task for me. I was being an aggressive attacker in the team, which was more about scoring goals, and I was always looked up like that. So I used to be just an aggressive attacker in the team and a defender to a certain part. And when I came out to be like, when the federation told me like you are going to take over the team, so it was a complete change of mindset for me, and probably that was the biggest learning that I got also. When I know that it was not about me scoring the goals anymore, I had to change the way I played.
Correct. Yeah.
Even if I had a record of scoring like 33 goals in that World Cup as becoming the captain of the first time of the Indian team, but I had to manage the whole team, get the best out of every individual, because everyone does a certain thing differently, and also they are specialized in certain different things to do. Like even if there are like 10 different shots, one is doing this shot good, one is doing this shot good. So I have to position them properly, strategically, and make the right output from them on the ground. I just can't focus on scoring my goal or making myself in the right position.
Correct.
From there, I understood like when I'm doing a business, I have to also understand the psychology of every different individual that I have been operating with, and how to direct them towards the vision that I have, and adapting them over the period and documenting that, so that it becomes easy for me to next time point someone in that.
You also again pointed out why it is so important to be a part of a team sport.
Correct.
Because you understand that how a team works.
Correct.
And how you can identify each and every person's strength, and that kind of gives you that knowledge of how to kind of live in a society and in a system where you bring out the best in your teammate, and you're not just like a narcissistic person trying to do everything all together.
It doesn't happen. It burns you if you try to do everything.
Yeah.
All
and
by
after
yourself.
burnout, people come to your center.
I want to work out more now.
Because I've burned out.
I'm mentally stressed out. I need to physically straight. But that helps. If you
Yeah.
actually physically make yourself go to a certain hardship every day, it will help you survive mentally really well. And I do to myself as well.
Yeah.
I burn a lot at a point.
Yeah.
I go play a sport in the evening, or at least do a 1 hour workout in the morning, or go out for a
Is
run.
that dopamine hit which you get like after
100%.
you play any sport?
100%. You mentally that pieces out. You feel the zone of at least getting that mental space cleared.
Yeah. So 2 last questions to sum
Okay.
up. The first one is there like a moment or a memory of anybody you've changed the life at Atenx? Like, is there any person or a experience you know of that you can share with us?
So there have been couple of people who have been coming to the gym since day one, and they have been consistent with the training that we have been giving, and also with the rules and regulations that they have to follow in terms of nutrition and everything. And they have got a result of like cutting down 30 to 40 kgs, not just cutting the weight and getting the muscles, or they have also improved on their endurance. They have improved on their active lifestyle, and they are actually doing better in their day, even when they have a stressed out situation at work. And they have been telling us like this is actually adding a lot of more things to our life than just being here to work out. Even in terms of athletes, we have trained certain athletes who have represented India, or who are representing India right now, and we have changed in their strengths to perform their activities. And they have been, if you see in the speed skating, there have been a couple of athletes who we changed their timing of at least 2 seconds in the speed skating.
Super.
By just a time frame of 3 months of training. He currently is representing India in Italy for the World Championship that are going on there. But the last 3 months he has been with us, and we actually made him cut down on 2 seconds of the event that he is going to perform in. So such things are actually feeling us, like giving us a better feeling to move towards further goals, or move towards things that every other sport we are going to do this.
Correct.
Right from tennis, badminton, cricket, football, whatever the sport is, we have the knowledge and we have to cater it in such a way that we get a result on the long run.
Your experience with meeting Smriti?
Yeah. So Smriti, she is actually a very talented athlete, very composed, very understanding about things. And I feel when you get those experience of a certain level, when you play with the pressure, so playing at an international level or playing a sport like cricket, and when you have so many eyeballs on you, there is a lot of criticism that comes into picture as well. So the mental strength is more required in that space than your physical abilities or the ability to perform this particular sport. To have that balance, I feel she is a complete balance of those things, and it is not easy to achieve that balance. And the reason why she is at an early age also, and she's performing at that level, and she's consistently doing it. They are now probably going for their world championships, ICC World Championship from 3rd to 20th. So I feel she's going to kill it there also for sure.
And then she's breaking stereotypes and barriers.
100%.
Like she's one of the first to break that barriers. And I think she's setting an example of like utmost greatness for all 100%. The women also.
That is what is required. Like if you want to do something or to prove something, you have to go out of the box. It takes a lot of problem. It takes a lot of stress and strain that you have to go across. You have to go across people who say that this is not possible. So that is where you feel that is an opportunity. When someone says it is not possible, you can't do it. These are the people who stand against it and try to find the positive solutions towards it and actually prove it.
Absolutely.
And then people start going behind them.
Yeah. Were there any moments of, like you felt like everything has fallen apart and then you've rose from that, because you're speaking a lot about mental stress and mental ability to cope that.
Correct.
So when you're summing up this episode, I'd like to know what changed in you.
When I became the Indian captain in 2017. So probably that was a very big learning curve for me in my life. We were playing in the final against Iran, and Iran was dominating our team with 6-2 in the first half. In our sport, it is not easy to cover gaps of higher goal margins, and we went down mentally as well, because all the crowd being in Bangladesh, we were playing in Bangladesh, everyone was supporting Iran, and India being dominating for the last 2 World Championships, they didn't want India to win as well. Like every other Asian country also, I'm telling, in other Asian countries were also not supporting India, standing outside there were only 10 girls or 12 girls from the Indian team also who were sitting in the stands out of 2,000, 3,000 people who were watching the game. We were going down too much because the gap was higher. They were playing good. They were actually dominating the sport in that final. But in the second half, what we read, what I thought about the situation, that they were acting overconfident. So when we play a sport, when I go into a sport, as if I'm playing rollball, I'm getting into a court to start my game. I need 10 minutes to adapt or 5 minutes to understand my team, who is playing how is the movement, how the opponents are moving, where the ball is going more, and how are they trying to create the spaces. So they started substituting a lot in the second half. They felt that they have won the game. There were 25 minutes more we had to play, and they started acting like they've done it. They are the winners of the finals, and they started substituting a lot. So we called up for a timeout. We came together. I and the coach said like we have to just make the game speed much faster than what we are doing right now, and this is going to create a panic situation for them. So we just started moving faster. If we were taking 4 seconds to reach the goal, we tried to make the ball move faster in like 2.5 seconds or 3 seconds to reach their goal. That made them very uncomfortable because every time the new player was coming in as a defender, he used to try to understand where I'm moving, where the other player is moving, and they were panicking and they started conceding the goals. In the last 10 minutes, we scored 6 goals.
Wow.
We won the finals 8 goals to 7. I missed a equalizing penalty when it was 6-7. And on the last goal also, I got the ball from my keeper. They were on a very aggressive attack on us. I got the ball from my keeper. I started running from the left wing. I saw a player running from the backside on the right corner. And there were two defenders I remember in front of me and one keeper. And Iran was someone I have never played the same shot again. So if I have taken a certain shot, they never let me do the same shot again. Never. Like,
because they'll predict.
They will predict before only. So when I started moving to the left side, there is a shot that I take usually. That is a spin shot. When I release the ball, it goes out and then it comes inside. So the defender already left the first pole. He knew that he'll take a spin shot. He won't attempt for the first pole. The defender also moved in, saying like he'll drag my body outside so that I cannot open up completely. But that was a time when I saw a gap also. I was pretty much willing to take that shot. Just for a fraction of a second, I saw that person doing a hand behind, going on the right corner, and there was no one looking or taking care of him. And we also got that player in the second half just because they didn't know what he does.
Amazing.
We didn't let him play in the tournament more than 5 minutes.
Being
in every
unpredictable.
Game. So they were like, let him go anywhere he wants to. Don't focus on him because we don't think he will going to do anything. That guy scored 4 goals in the final 4 minutes. And he was just standing there. We did it. I just slid it down. In the action of the shot, I pushed the ball directly to him. And they thought I have taken a shot. So the keeper came into the position of saving the shot. So he was already off balance. The ball went to that player and the player just threw the ball inside into the top corner and the match was off. That goal happened in the last 30 seconds. And everything changed around. From there, what I took is you can change any situation, any pressure. So that was the maximum pressure I ever had because I was the captain of the Indian team for the first time. I had a very responsible position than just the scoring goals. The reason why I decided not to take an attempt, even if I was confident enough, and choosing someone to do it for you. Like you have to have that belief. You have to create multiple people like you to like achieve things faster and better and create the right output.
And that rapport between you and him.
Correct.
That rapport was so important.
Right.
It felt like a Chak De scene. I like Chak De India. Music was playing.
So actually it was like when I threw the ball, when I fall down there, I was just looking at the clock. Like, fuck, we did it, man. So it's like 30 seconds on the clock and we have made it here.
Yeah.
And we have to just fall back and not let her attempt go inside.
We got a song.
Yeah.
We got a song for this series.
So it was a crazy moment. I didn't realize that we won. Even after the match.
Yeah, we must be in that hole.
We were just shocked there that like we could win. We could have never won this game. Unless and until we didn't have that right mindset or the understanding of the situation or taking the pressure and making calls. Even if we go wrong, what would have happened? We would have lost. We were already in a position to lose it. But if we wouldn't have applied a strategy to improvise the situation, it wouldn't have happened.
I think that hope that hope and that
Correct.
positive mindset all together help you kind of achieve whatever. Like
Right.
sometimes you feel like giving up, but then you never know that what God has planned for you.
Right.
And it's in your hand. Like God wants you to act upon it and
Correct.
not just keep praying for
Correct.
it, right?
Humans have the biggest power of thinking, I feel.
Yeah.
Thinking positively in any problem or any situation will always find your way, whatever you are doing. But you have to apply that pressure on your head to think positively and get there.
Absolutely. I think that mindset and that attitude, or that the way everybody talks about right now, that you need to talk that self-talk of speaking all the positive things and also being practical with
Right.
it, that this is where I am.
Right.
And you need to accept that this is what is happening with me, than being in a delusion, and then looking at a positive mindset that okay, there might be a door which will open for me.
Correct.
And I have to work in this particular way to go there, than just giving up.
Right.
And there are so many options for you to just go and seek help
Correct.
for a lot of things. So you and your teammates were just so open with each other that
Right.
you knew that if I can't take that shot, that person is going to.
Right.
And then that trust is so important.
Correct.
And that's what I learned from this entire podcast today. Is there any vision for Atenx in the coming future?
So currently there are only 0.3% Indians who do strength training. My goal is to at least reach 10% of it, 10% of the Indian population, which will be somewhere around 140 million, is what I have placed
Yeah.
myself in specific to number, at least educating the people or getting to a point where India will have a 10% of population at least strength training.
And this strength training right now?
People don't feel comfortable to go to the
Do you
gym.
think that-
the knowledge is not there. They feel
Yeah.
they get into injuries with all these. They don't have the right.
They get also
concentration.
because they don't have good training.
Good training is not there. So the ecosystem that I want to create is educate the trainers, create a system where they keep upgrading the education,
Yeah.
create a facility where people will feel more welcoming, and they understand that it is just not about lifting the weights, it is more about the fitness, and fitness comes with the balance of endurance, like cardiovascular endurance and strength. If you have those things in balance, then only you are fit.
Exactly.
Lifting weights doesn't make you fit, but lifting weights will help your muscles to survive for a longer period of time.
Correct.
Because muscles start deteriorating faster after the age of 30 or 35.
Yeah, I think 1 kg.
Yeah, somewhere around,
something.
but some certain percent is
Something,
there.
huh.
That is how you have to keep
Yeah.
that muscles engaged in certain ways, and also your chest or your lungs to be operationally doing things.
Yeah.
That will create a good balance, and that is actually what fitness is.
And also food. You spoke about
food.
nutrition,
Food
because
is more
70% is nutrition.
More about food, yeah.
So
it has
that's
to be
also
there.
important.
And see, people give reasons that we have to travel, we have to do this, we have to do that. But if you try to balance out the food thing on a very basic grounds, like if you have the right amount of salads before you start a meal, and you have any meal
Yeah.
is okay, but you need to have the right fibers, carbohydrates, the balance of all the things. At least you take guidance from someone at least once, so that you get an understanding.
Yeah.
Even if you can't do it 100%, you can at least get to 70 or 80% of
Exactly.
it, and try to maintain it. That will help you. It is not necessary to do 100%, because sometimes people say, इसमें से मेरे को क्या पैसे मिल रहे हैं क्या मेरे को ये सब करने के? The actors and the athletes are earning out of it. They spend on it because they have to. That is the source of earning. But you also have to understand that body is the only thing that you have that is going to help you also earn money.
And I think starving to death is not going to be an option, because if you want to do strength training, you need to eat right. And you need to eat as per the proportions which are needed for your
Correct.
body. It's not, you are not the person to decide upon that. Like your body will tell you that you need to eat at multiple time intervals and all that. So it's, I think, equally important, because if you don't eat right in the morning, I remember, you won't be able to perform at strength training in the gym. Like it is not possible for you to perform because you've not had food enough.
Correct.
And then you have to be honest with your trainer also that I have not had food, so I won't be able to perform that day.
So for this also, in athletes also, what we do is the velocity bar is to find out is your body actually ready to perform a certain activity at a good speed. So if you are doing a deadlift, and if you do a deadlift of 60 kg as you mentioned, and if you take 6 seconds, like 1.5 seconds to come up and put the bar down again, and if I put the velocity bars, I can identify if you're doing it in 1.5 1.5 second. And if you do it in 3 seconds or 2 seconds, I know that your body is in a fatigue. I need to change the load.
Yeah, I don't like.
So this is how we do it for athletes. Because if his body is in fatigue, if he is training for 6, 8 hours in a day, and if I know that it is not going to be a good thing for him to load at 70% or 80% of the weight that he can do, so I have to change it. So these are the scientific levels we are trying to showcase into the general training as well. Like you have to understand, because every day is not the same day that you go through.
Exactly, yeah. And that's new information, because usually it's on just guessing game.
Yeah, it's a guess
whether
game
it's like
completely.
I'm tired or what, and then you go.
And it is mostly reclining towards like not letting your body do things.
Yeah, like
I'm tired right now. I just don't want to do it.
There's a hustle culture, and that masculine culture in working out also. मेरे को अभी इतना dumbbells उठाना है.
Over करना है या under करना है. बीच में कुछ नहीं.
And then if there is these groups sitting right there. मुझे 2 किलो ही उठाना है, whatever, because I want to just show that I am lifting more than that person. That starts happening, or if somebody is crossing, you start lifting even more. So that should stop.
Certain attractions that you get through.
So you need to stop that.
Yeah.
Like you
have to focus on what you have.
Yeah. You need to just self-reflect on yourself and just, put those blinders. And I think Atenx is doing just that.
We are just trying our best to go. We probably will take like a longer time to make this understanding clear. But I will not leave this way of operating the things.
But that's the way forward, right? 100%. Like that's kind of changing the dynamics of how you need to train your body in the fitness industry. May you are an athlete or not. I think this is the way each and every center should be doing, but I feel that Atenx will be opening many centers, so you can just
that is our goal. Like to reach the number that we are willing to, we need to geographically place properly everywhere in the country by understanding the market also.
Correct. Amazing. So how many centers are you thinking of opening a year?
Probably like in the next 15 years timeline, 5 years timeline. So after that, my goal is to start a sports school.
Amazing.
But at least till then, it should be somewhere near to the 100 number, or geographically, if I have not got to that depth, I have set a number as a target, but I have to still think more over it, because I need to understand where these things have to be placed, because I focus more on the grassroots than on the performing players or the performing people.
Grassroots has immense talent, and it needs to be kind of found out. I mean, so important.
That is the area of ignorance right now. People don't know about it. Nor the athletes, nor the general population, because and in terms of business, that is also an advantage.
And in fact, like there's not many people can reach there.
Correct.
So rather use your, if you have that opportunity, you can just kind of make the table longer. So that's so important. I think I have a name for Aditya today. What? It's like a data god of sports. After 15 years,
I have to be there.
The data mafia of sports. आपको data चाहिए?
हमारे पास आओ.
That is important.
That is the most important.
Yeah, entrepreneur and sports person combined in one. But this was an amazing podcast, and I think we are going to have more of these, because this was the longest podcast I've had in many months, I think so. And I had a great time talking about various levels of sports, not just about what you're doing currently, but various layers which really impact what you do. Right? So that it has been an absolute honor for me and my entire team to sit here, listen to you, and I think the conversation is going to be unending, but I have to stop somewhere. Otherwise you'll
बात करते ही चला जाएगा, सब काम रह जाएगा बाजू में.
But thank you so much. What did you think about this podcast, and what do you think about the whole
conversation? Actually, when you say, like, I have been able to share a lot of things, but it was only because I was getting the right questions also. If I was not getting the right questions, it wouldn't have been the place to talk about all of this. And so it's honor to be here as well, and to share the inputs or the insights to the questions, justified questions that you came up with. So thank you for having me here. And it was pleasure to talking to you and having a conversation over things.
Thank you. It was an absolute honor, and we can't wait to release this podcast super soon. So please subscribe, like our channel, so that we can get in so many amazing, inspiring stories, and give opportunity and inspiration to many more who can just kind of take up this example and start something of their own, just start this journey. So we want to be that platform where we bridge the gap between bringing in such different unique stories and just making it a very positive space for everybody to tune in. So thank you so much for watching this episode. Please share, please like. Thank you so much, Aditya, for coming.
Thank you so much.
It was an honor and pleasure. Thank you so much.
Great.